I'm gonna let you know when. Oh, and we are live. Hello, 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 and welcome everybody who is watching us live. My name is Paula Kettula. I am a licensed clinical social worker and a transformational parenting coach with 20 years of experience supporting families and children, shifting from just surviving into thriving. And I am super passionate about supporting parents who are struggling with being stressed out, overwhelmed, confused, and really living in that chaos. And for them to master leadership skills, because I believe it is through those leadership skills that you can become confident, empowering, and inspiring parent to your family and actually create amazing connected relationship with your kids and feel fulfilled as a parent. So that's what I am all about. But this interview is not about me at all. It is about my dear friend, Mary Kay Garrett. Hi, welcome, Mary
Hi,
Kay. I'm so
hi,
excited to
Paula.
dive in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here too.
Of
So,
course. Yeah. So Mary Kay and so I'm going to interview Mary Kay, and we are going to dive deep into some secrets of motherhood. Mother's Day is tomorrow, and we were just talking about this, and we just realized we're both parenting coaches, so we see what's happening. I've been in the field of mental health for 20 years. I know Mary Kay, you've been doing this work for a long time, so we see
mhm,
that silent suffering. We see that silent being misunderstood, undervalued, and unappreciated. And so there's a lot of shame and guilt just
yeah,
kind of that develops. And what I've noticed, because I do have a window to a lot of parents' lives and a lot of families' lives, is that like everybody's telling me the same thing. And I'm like, you know what? We just get to
mhm,
talk about this because that's one of the most powerful way to start healing from the shame is to actually bring it to the light of the day. So that's
yeah.
our intention today. It's unedited. We have Mary Kay has no idea what I'm gonna ask her. It's completely pretty much unprepared. And we are just our intention is to be authentic, connected, vulnerable, and really be in service to you so that you don't have to feel alone as a mother and celebrating Mother's Day. So does that sound okay with you, Mary Kay?
It sounds beautiful. I'm here. Ask me anything. I'm an open book. Whatever I can do to support and help parents, I'm willing to share.
Before we do that, tell us about yourself. So tell us about your work that you do. I want to hear a little bit about you. And then if you watch this to all the way to the end, Mary Kay and I have some special gifts for you. So stick around and we'll tell you what those are. But tell us about your work.
Sounds good. So I am a parenting coach as well, and didn't start out that way, of course. I found myself back in 2004 on vacation at the beach, actually, in the middle of the living room, raging at my kids.
Mm,
And in that moment, I realized that I hated the person who was raising my kids, and I knew it was me. So I decided at that moment that I was going to change. Uh, I went down to the beach. I had my line in the sand moment. I drew a line in the sand
mm,
and I promised that I would only treat my kids with compassion, love, and respect.
mm,
And throughout my journey, I have kept that promise. And I actually started working as a coach, was certified as a coach about 15 years ago. And a few years ago, my kids would always be, Mom, you've got to help my friends. Their parents are crazy. You've got to help them. They're just driving the kids nuts. And so I have three kids. They are all now in their 20s for 2 more weeks till my son turns 30. and but so what I decided to do was help parents and to help the kids. My mission, my vision is to change parenting generationally. And I had so much baggage that I was bringing into my parenting that I had to really look at myself and how I was showing up, the role model I was being, to help them become the best people that they could be. And
Mm,
so that was my journey, is kept looking in the mirror, looking at myself. What was I doing that I could do better so I could support my kids as they grew up and they became strong, confident, compassionate adults. And I have to say, I completed that part of my mission for my kids, and it really put me on the track to get out and support other parents so they could do the
mhm.
same.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that share and your generosity. And I was getting goosebumps when you talked about that moment when you were at the beach and like drawing the line in the sand. Like that is just so powerful to realize that this ends here. And it is, what I
Yeah,
also heard in that it's up to me. It's up to me. We're not
yeah.
going to be waiting around for the kids to change, to fix them or whatever. Like this was like, I really heard that responsibility that you felt in your heart to create a shift. And the other powerful thing that I really resonated with me is that generational change. I talk about that a lot. Like
Hmm.
when you change and shift, the child in front of you right now, you're also going to change the generations down the line. And actually, there's another theory. I don't remember which Native American tribe talks about. It also goes 7 generations back and seven generations
Hmm.
forward. So this being a mother and being a parent is so important. So you're not just parenting the child in front of you, you're parenting the adult they will become, the parents that they will become, and the grandparents they will become. So thank you for sharing that so much.
Welcome.
And this is such a perfect segue to the first thing that I wanted to kind of ask you, because I talk always about this idea of creating from the future. Because if we create from the past, we create more of the past, and usually, it's
Yep.
not very pleasant, right? Or if we create from the present moment, we are creating from our circumstances and our limiting mindset, which is typically holding us back, anyways. And the circumstances typically allow us not to be in possibility. So I
Hmm.
like to ask people about like creating from the future. So if you were to go back in time to be that when you were that young mother and your adult self, your current self would give her some advice, what
Mm.
would that advice be? And those who are listening this, you don't act, you can do this right now. Like you can put yourself forward in the future when you are imagining that you are the parent that you desire to be. You have the peace, calm and harmony in your home, and you can think about like, okay, who did I get to be, what did I do differently to
Hmm.
create that. So you don't have to actually, wait a long time to
Yeah.
do this. You can do this right now. But let's use this in Mary Kay's example. Like, what would that be? Like, what
Oh,
would
that's
you have
such a
like?
such a good question.
Yeah, tell us
So,
what you would have done differently and what you would have stopped doing.
you know what I would have stopped doing is being controlling, always trying to be in control of the situation, because we only have control of ourselves. And the only way that we can control others is by influencing them by how we're showing up. So I wish that is something that I had known back then.
Mhm,
And the other one is listening more,
mhm,
and listening to more to my kids, what they're saying, how they're saying it, being open to them as my teachers as well as
mhm,
my kids, and not saying that as a parent, I know everything, I
mhm,
am your parent, and coming through with that kind of controlling, powering energy, but more of listening to them so that we could have conversations around things and that they could feel seen, heard, and valued. And I think those two things are probably the biggest ahas for me,
Yeah.
is letting go of that control and bringing them into the family development.
Right. And then and you're doing it now, right? So what is the outcome? Like what happens when parents are less controlling, they are listening to their children, they are open, they are seeking to understand. What is the
Mm.
transformation? Why is that important?
Oh my, it's the transformation is absolutely amazing. Your kids are more empowered, they're more
Mm.
confident. And when as it's lately as I've had, my kids are in their 20s and they're allowed to speak their mind. And it's having that it's not only with me they can speak their mind, they can go out in the world. They're not afraid to have those conversations and to speak their mind with others. So it translates from our relationship to others. And the really interesting part is if I'm not in alignment or they see something, they will call me on it without me getting, I won't get upset. I listen because I value what they're sharing
Oh,
with
you
me.
don't get triggered?
I don't get triggered. What no, let me just say that. I do get triggered once in a while, but I understand and I know that what they're saying is something to look at. I trust and I
Mm.
value them and I know what they've been brought up in and how they operate. So yes, I'm human. I will get triggered, but it'll be like I'll say, you know what? I'm triggered right now, but this is valuable and thank you for sharing. I don't want you to stop sharing those things with me.
Yeah.
Yes, I may not have had the right reaction, but I am listening to what you're saying and give me a minute on this one.
Yeah. And that is where growth happens exactly in that receiving the feedback, right?
Mhm.
Receiving the feedback from your children, opening up to them, allowing them to give you feedback because yeah, there's blind spots in any
Yeah.
relationship and especially in relationships with parents and children. So then that opens up an opportunity for that openness and understanding, listening, creating safety and trust in the relationship as
Mhm.
well is what I heard as well. And sometimes I coach parents into asking their children, what kind of mother do you need me to be for you right now? Like literally asking, like, what, how can I support you and how does that support look like? Because then the kids are going to tell you, right?
Yeah.
They're going to tell you what they need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And, and anything else that your future self would have, what wisdom of you would have
Hmm.
brought to yourself as that young mom?
I think one of the other things, and this is something that right now as I coach my clients, I'm seeing show up, is let go of the things that really aren't important. Is it
Mm,
really important every day that your kitchen is spotless? When you're taking time away, you can sit down with your child and maybe have a really good um, conversation, connected conversation, and the kitchen doesn't get cleaned, or that the holiday isn't done perfectly, that you don't have everything right and everything perfect. Messy is okay. It's part of being a parent. What's more important, realize that what's more important is that connection that you have with your kids.
absolutely. Yeah. I love that. That is such a, gives such a focus, that question, like what's important in this moment. Yeah. And like you
Mhm.
said, letting go of, yeah, kitchen or whatever it is to-do list sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Letting go of that too. Yeah. Awesome. What were the times when you felt the most misunderstood as a mom?
Let me think on that. I think a lot of when in discipline,
Mm,
in how and it. may not have been with my kids, because there were times that with as I went through this and wanting to listen to my kids and getting deeper into why they're doing what they're doing, I still had a husband who wanted to do the old discipline, timeout, grounding, yelling. And so I think it was in those moments when I had to really take a stand for how I wanted the conversation to go with my kids, how I wanted them to feel, making it more of a learning experience with them rather than I'm going to, you did this and you're grounded and that's it.
Mhm.
And really standing in what I knew was the right way to treat them and to listen to them and to work through it, no matter who was telling me, no, you shouldn't do it this way.
Yeah. How was that for you when you felt like the world was kind of against you, like even your husband had a different way of approaching parenting? Tell me a little bit more about like how that was for you. What were you feeling and what were your thoughts
You
like
know,
at that time?
sometimes I had second thoughts. I mean, I'm like, am I doing this
Mm,
right? Is this the way it's supposed to be? Is this really going to work?
mm. There's that
And
doubt. Yeah.
lots of doubt on,
Mm,
should I do it? Maybe I should punish them this way. And then I think of discipline as like, is that the way I'd want to be treated?
mm.
And it's like, no, it's not. Why, treat others as you treat yourself. And
Yeah.
as I was moving into a place where I was learning to treat myself better and have these things, it was just not how I wanted anyone to feel. I didn't want to. I was trying to build my kids' self-esteem and their confidence. So I didn't want to knock them down, but I did want them to get the lesson.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it was, you know what? Sometimes it was messy. Did I have parenting tantrums throughout? Yep, I did. When things got, I have one daughter who is my youngest daughter is an absolute angel. She is just a sweetheart until she's not. And when she stands her ground, her and I knock heads. And it was always a very frustrating time because I wasn't connecting with her. And it would get more and more frustrating. And we might have a big blowout. It may get there, but I would always come back to her or whoever the child was. And I was never too proud to apologize and say, I screwed up. I really messed
Hmm.
up. And I am so sorry. How can we work through this so that we both learn from this and I can support you so next time that we get into something like this, it's a little smoother for both of us.
Hmm. Beautiful. Yeah. That repairing that connection and that relationship after something happened is so important, absolutely vital. Having a new moment and a restart afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what in the end helped you kind of stand in the drift? Because the drift is this mindset, this old school parenting mindset. There's so many, like, there's teachers and schools and like so many people. It's still the fear based parenting is still so prevalent. And I'm like trying to wrap my mind around it because we know this from research on child
Hmm.
development. We know what works. What works is kindness, compassion, that connection, that relationship, meeting kids' developmental needs, all those things. Like it's very clear. We know this for many years, right, Mary Kay?
Right,
I know you've
right.
been fighting this good fight for a long time. So, like, what helped you stand in that when the whole world is saying that the sky is green and you say it's blue?
Hmm. There's two things. One, I had made a commitment when I stepped across that line. And that was a commitment. I felt so horrible as a person and as a parent that going back and reliving that moment when that commitment to no, you're not going to, there is another way, you're going to move forward. And I would say another huge piece, I had a coach. I was
Mm.
working with, it was not, for me, it was parenting coaches weren't real prevalent back then, but I had a coach. And when I felt like I was off, I would go seek support. And it's like, will you peel me off the wall? We need to chat. And step by step, I had somebody there to share with and to run, bounce ideas and to tell me when I was off base and help me move forward with that. So it's not something, it does take a village to raise children. It's not something that I would go into this on my own with someone who isn't experienced. I would always want somebody who is somewhat experienced and has done the journey,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to tell you, no, you're not crazy. And they're going to tell you that maybe this is a better way, and maybe take a look at yourself, and you don't want to hear it, but they're there to support you. So I think having somebody there to step through it with you is just, for me, it was not a non-negotiable.
Yeah. And what I heard in that is that you set yourself for success, and you got some support that really like supported your integrity to the commitment
Mhm.
that you had made.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that you didn't have to struggle alone. You didn't have to do it alone. Like there are people out there, like parenting coaches nowadays, who can really be an absolute fantastic support, and it really worked for you. And like
Yes.
having that knowing, like, okay, I'm not crazy here, right?
Right.
Yeah, because it can be, and it's in that isolation that the shame develops then. It's usually shame loves that. Shame loves secrecy. Shame loves the darkness of things when things are not talked about, right? So, would you be open to sharing some moments in your parenting, with your children, that you felt that shame, or you have some guilt or regrets
Mm.
about? Or maybe there was something that kind of happened pretty, more on a regular basis too. Sometimes it could be like a situation. What's that
You know,
for
you
you?
know, um, I think one of the things that have happened, gosh, there's a few. One of my most shameful moments was not trusting myself. My son, when he was a freshman in high school, was that right after school, Christmas break, he was sleeping in and he wouldn't get up. He couldn't get up. He wasn't getting up, and I noted I felt in my gut that there was something wrong. And
Hmm.
I took him to the doctor, and the doctor's like, he's just being a teenager. He's just being a teenager. Just get him up and make him get up, scream and yell. And he's like, if that doesn't work, then just pour ice water on him.
Oh wow. The
Yeah.
this is
This
a
is a
doctor
doctor.
actually
This was a
saying that.
doctor. Last time I
Wow.
saw that doctor, I will say, I did it. I didn't listen to my gut
Mm,
that no, it was deeper than that. This wasn't my son. I poured a pitcher of ice water on him, and he didn't move.
mhm,
He was what it ended up being is ended up having at a cellular level, he was sick. He was deficient of vitamin B in his system for some reason. So I had to keep going and keep going. But I let this person tell me something that I didn't think was right, and I did it.
mm,
And that is one of my most regrettable moments, that I actually didn't trust my son, didn't trust myself, but I trusted this outside person to tell me what to do.
mm, mhm, mhm. I've noticed that too. Like, yeah, mothers have answers inside of you.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. There's always an answer that comes, that intuition, that trust, that love. How did you heal from that?
Most You know what? I still regret it. It's still there. I
Mhm,
still feel very
mhm,
guilty. But I think getting him the help he needed, apologizing to him, having those
mhm,
conversations. He doesn't remember it because he was asleep and he never woke up. But really supporting him and saying, no, I trust you, and we're going to go find the answers. And you're going to be the one that leads how you're feeling. And I'm going to believe you because I
mhm,
know you as my son.
Mhm,
and no one knows
mhm.
you as well as I do. So
Yeah.
I think that was it. Telling the story and being able to kind of laugh about it with him is something that has also helped.
Mhm.
But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bringing some
So
lightness to it afterwards, right?
yeah,
Afterwards. And
exactly.
now it's, he's an adult, so now it becomes this story like,
He's like,
remember the time
yeah,
when
like whatever, mom.
mom threw Yeah.
We got through it.
Yeah.
We got through it, but we didn't hide anything. We didn't keep the shame inside.
Mm.
I didn't the guilt or any of that. It's like, no, let's bring it out. Let's talk about it. And if there is, forgiveness or apologies to be made, I'm always open to doing that. I'm not too proud that I can't apologize to my kids. If I screw up, it's just like if they screw up, all right, this happened. Let's move
Yeah.
forward, figure out
Right.
how
Right.
it's not going to happen again.
Yeah. And I really want the listeners to hear that because as a psychotherapist and I'm a trauma therapist, so I work also with a lot of adults with a lot of trauma in their background, a lot of trauma that comes from their parents. And hands down, every single person says, like, well, what would have made things better? Like, it wasn't so much the abuse, but that the parents did not take responsibility. The parents did never,
Mhm.
nobody ever apologized, nobody ever cleared anything, nobody, said, I'm sorry. Like, so the adults that are traumatized by their childhood experiences are telling me that what have really would have made a huge difference is just hearing that I'm sorry and being responsible for that. So I want that to really land for everybody who's listening because it's so important. And how did this, like, how was your sons and yours relationship afterwards?
Because right after it happened, I apologized. I'm like, I am so sorry, just so sorry, which made it closer because I was taking responsibility and I was owning what I did and that I screwed up and that I was there to find the answers however we found it, to start digging
Mhm.
and digging. And we finally did. And he ended up having to be out the whole semester and homeschool for a semester as he healed, but giving him that space to do what he needed to heal without feeling like he was being a horrible teenager.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. So what I'm really kind of diving into here and what I'm hearing a lot that it doesn't need to be perfect. Like parenting, it's it's impossible for it to be perfect, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And getting
Yeah.
messy, like just like
Absolutely.
digging digging deep and just like I say it like, well, it comes from Brené Brown uses the term rumbling, like rumbling with something, like, you're just getting into it, like whatever the situation is, that it's like, and that you are together in this journey of life, essentially we all are.
Yeah.
And that, in the end it's okay to get messy and make mistakes and not
Yeah.
be perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have another one that I
Oh,
can
yes.
share because this is a big one. This was a really big aha for me, and this didn't happen too long ago. This was a few years ago where my son and my middle daughter weren't getting along really well. And my middle daughter had come. She lives in Europe most of the time. She had come home for a few months to spend with the family, and they were she's very uncomfortable when she comes back to the US because it's such a different way of life. So she's a person that when changes happen, it takes her a bit to get settled. And anyway, they were arguing and fighting. I didn't want the conflict to happen. I did everything to prevent the conflict. So what I did is I started controlling the situation.
Mm.
I'd tell him something, stay away, stay away. I'd tell her something, oh, he's just being this. And I found myself just completely controlling the situation. Well, the night before she was going to leave, it blew up on me. It completely blew up. If I had let them have the conflict, work it out between themselves, it would have been fine. But she felt he was hiding stuff from her and lying to her on how he felt because of how I was trying to control it. And the situation blew up and they didn't speak to each other for a full year. Absolutely blew up. And I realized that's what happens when you try to control something. When you don't want that conflict in your house, the only way to not have conflict in your house is to go through it, not avoid it. The more
Mhm.
we try to avoid it and tell people just be a good girl or be a good boy, whatever, the more we avoid it, the more tension hits until it absolutely explodes.
Yeah.
And so my lesson was it may be hard to go through it, but that's the only way. Now their relationship is they've gone through it, they worked it out themselves, they've had conversations, and everything's great. They're stronger, our family's stronger, their friendship is stronger than it's ever been.
Mm.
And just kind of stay out of some of those things. Don't try to
Yeah,
control
back
it.
off,
Oh,
right? Yeah, time to back off. And in really in any also, I'm glad that that's an example where your kids were already like adults, but applies to any age, really.
right.
Really any age. Just yesterday, I was talking to one of the parents that I work with, and the 10-year-old boy was playing in the playground, and there's things that happen during kids playing in the playground, and it can be very uncomfortable for parents sometimes to see child getting hurt, or maybe there's some mean words that are being said, but like sit back and just watch and observe, because it's in that conflict that, like you said, the conflict actually strengthens relationships, and it's in the conflict that there's a lot of growth and transformation, like
Mhm.
almost embracing the breakdown, right? Embracing that it's
Exactly.
happening.
Yeah,
And the bigger the breakdown, sometimes the bigger the breakthrough on the other side. So
exactly.
we
Exactly.
yeah, right. So as a parent, sometimes you rob yourself the opportunity for the breakthrough if you are controlling a lot, like Mary Kay said, and or trying to like keep the peace, you know. Yeah.
It doesn't keep the peace.
It doesn't it doesn't in
It
the end. It doesn't work,
it does
right?
it in the end.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just puts off the inevitable.
Yeah. It's all gonna come out at some point sooner or later. Yeah. Okay. What were the moments like, when did you feel unappreciated as a mom?
Like all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots. A lot of the time when I do these because I was one of those moms that wanted like Christmas to be perfect or, a birthday to be perfect, that type of thing, but the birthday parties. And then it would happen, Christmas would be over and nobody would have any thank yous or that was awesome or great or
Mm,
whatever. And for me, what it was learning to figure out who was I doing it for? What were the reasons
mm,
that I was doing those? Is it because I loved to do that? Or was it because I was looking for that extra appreciation? Because if you're looking for appreciation from others, you're going to feel unappreciated. Nobody appreciates me around here. But when you were like, you know what, I'm doing this because I love it. I'm just doing it because it's fun. This is fun for me. I have a great time. I love doing it. I love seeing the smiles on my everybody's faces. You know what? Then you don't. I found that I didn't feel unappreciated in those moments. It didn't matter if I was appreciated or not.
yeah,
I just
and
it was the fun of doing it.
did that exhaust you? Like,
N-
was it more energizing, or did it exhaust you, or
when
like
I
what?
loved it, it was so much more energizing and fun. It didn't feel
Right.
like work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely more fun that way.
Yeah, because that's what I've also like, when we give with the mindset of getting, so we have, it's a transactional, I'm giving, giving, giving,
Mhm.
giving, expecting to get something back. And like you said, well, the kids are not gonna come and sometimes they come, right? Like, Mom, I love you. This is so amazing, but most of the time not. So when we have that mindset that we're giving to get, that's a very, very disappointing way to live, right? And a lot of resentment builds up, and there's anger and all these things, right? that. I love that there's this unconditional generosity that is possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a big one because I am my love language is giving. And
Mm,
so
mhm,
I do love doing that, but when I have to realize that they may not have the same excitement in what I'm giving or what I'm doing as I feel from it. So, and let that be okay. Just
mhm,
know that if you love giving, you just love giving. But if you don't, the outcome, they will appreciate it. They may not know how to say say they mean some, a lot of people don't know how to say thank you or show
mhm.
appreciation gratitude towards it. And so just know that I really, really just enjoyed it. I did it for me, not for them.
Yeah, doing it for the joy, doing it for the just for the mere reason of creating joy and for you to feel good about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's a way to fill your cup too. Yeah, that's a way to fill
Exactly.
your cup.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So, what are some, and we're gonna start wrapping up here. So, what are some words that you would like to give to some moms right now? Like, you are on the other side in some ways, having adult children. Of course, parenting never ends. But what advice would you give to some moms and parents right now with some younger children? Like, what would be some important shifts? What's some course correction that they could make right now that you think would be supportive for them?
You know what? With the realization, parenting is hard. Parenting is hard. This is not an easy job that we take on with kids. We are molding and supporting and giving and giving and giving. And the more you can support yourself and give back to yourself, make sure you're taken care of. If you're in those, one of my favorite things is when you're in if chaos, just step back and take a couple breaths. Step out for a moment and just breathe and give yourself the moment to just sit back and chill. We all get so caught up in the chaos and it's just going to spiral down and spiral down if you don't step out and say, okay, what's important here? What's
Mhm.
how important is this? And we have choice in that moment. Do we want to continue with that, or do we want to just take a step back and say, okay, what's really going on here?
Mm, mhm, mhm.
And give yourself some, I'm trying to word, some grace. Give yourself some grace with parenting.
Yes.
It is so hard. And you will be messy. It will be messy. And those are later the things that you can laugh about and you can, let go of. So for you, just yeah, give yourself some grace and take a breath and make sure you're doing something that is a self-care for you because it's tiring.
Right, it is. It is. I wrote one word down that really kind of popped out for me is the word choice.
Hmm.
But what I also heard you say that you get to the point of choice when you step back. Like you when you are in that like vortex of chaos happening, we don't
Right.
see anything in it, right? We're just, activated and triggered, but like stepping back and taking the breaths, like you said, now we have a choice. We have freedom to choose something different.
Yeah. And for me, it goes back to that line in the sand again. Who
Mm,
do I want to be and how do I
yeah.
want to show up as a parent? And once you have, people that are not listening, that are unaware, haven't heard this. But when you hear it, it's something that you can take forward. Okay, who do you choose to be as a parent? Is it which person do you want to be more aware? You're going to be messy, you're going to make mistakes, but do you still want to stay on track and stay committed to that?
Hmm.
So give yourself that grace, give yourself the choice. Is this who I want to show up as in the moment? And you can, yes or no.
Hmm.
And
It's, yeah, simple
maybe
in the
no in
end,
this,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe no is it right now. No, I can't, I don't have the capacity to show up
Yeah.
this way. So I'm
Yeah.
going to be this, but I am going to take responsibility for how I show up,
Mhm.
and clean up my mat, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And make sure you're doing it with your kids too, because that helps build that relationship and that
Mm.
connection, to let them know you're not perfect and they are valued, that their opinions matter.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
So I feel
they
like
get to
I'm,
be who they are. When you are who you are authentically, that allows the other people to be free to be who they are as well. I love that. And also want to highlight what you said about parenting is hard. Like, seriously, we this is not the way that, like, talking about like parenting and how kids used to be raised in multi-generational like tribes. Like,
mhm,
think back into the hunter-gatherer days. The modern society is fairly new compared to other kinds of ways that we've used to live. So in those hunter-gatherer societies, and even later on, there were always multiple generations raising a child. There's different ages, and so it's literally like back in those days, every child had like 4 to 6 adult caretakers, four to
mhm,
six caretakers. And now we are talking about, of course, a lot of single parents or just, two parents or whatever. And that's so,
yeah,
so if you're feeling overwhelmed, like, yeah, because parenting is hard and you're doing the job of 6 people, actually.
right,
Yeah.
right. And one of the things is, as my kids have gotten older and I've seen who they are and I've seen where they had challenges. um, my daughter, my middle daughter, is very strong-willed.
Mm.
And there were times that she would use her she's an influencer, and she would use it negatively. Or, and I would always say, instead of punishing her, you have a choice. You can use this positively and be amazing, or you can use it negatively. How do you want this? Where do you want to take this? We have, by guiding our kids, we have such an amazing opportunity to help guide them and shape them into their entire life, who they're going to be and how they're going to show up. And like we said in the beginning, the generational, that will carry on to your grandkids. It will
Mm.
carry on to society because of the way they're going to show up at work, with their friends, in their relationships. We don't realize how impactful being a mom can be, or a parent can be, what we
Mhm.
really have to offer our kids, and how amazing it is.
Right. And yeah, I really want everybody to hear that, because you get to acknowledge yourself, right? All the moms, all the parents out there, like, start acknowledging, opening your eyes to, like, wow, all the things that I do, all the different ways that I care for my children, that you are really, the pillar that supports the development of the child and the family in so many different ways. And
Mhm.
like Mary Kay said, all this has this beautiful ripple effect into
Yeah,
generations down the line. So you matter and you are important. And starting with receiving that yourself, to parents who are listening, and really starting to open your heart and let yourself into your own heart, by understanding and realizing how important your job is. And you don't have to be perfect. It gets to be messy. It's way
that's
more
the
fun.
whole key of
It's
it, is
way
be
more
messy.
fun when it's messy.
Yes.
And you don't have to know the answers. You really don't. You just kind of figure things out as you go. And again, I'm saying this so those listeners who don't know me, I'm actually not a parent. I'm not a mom, but I am very committed to working with parents and being. I'm part of that village. I'm part of that village of raising the kids, and definitely a mom, definitely a parent in the soul level. So there are people out there like me, like Mary Kay, coaches, and others who are here to really support you in this difficult job. So to seeking out for that support as well. Yeah, because it does take take a village to raise kids. Yeah. And
Definitely
also, like,
does.
even as a psychotherapist and a child therapist, like, you would know that I know what to do all the time. I don't. Like, sometimes, like, I have no idea what I'm going to do right now. And the kid is like doing something crazy in my office, like, just wiping toys down. And I'm like, not sure what to do. Sometimes I even say that to the child, you know what? Wow. I really don't know what to do in this situation. you know,
Yeah.
kind of like being authentic like that too,
Yeah.
even with the kids, right? Like
Ask the
I
kids.
don't know. Ask the child, like, what do you think we should do here, right?
You'd be surprised. I mean, especially when there's been a behavioral issue and you say,
Yeah,
what do you think we should do here? What should be, how do you feel about this? And what should we do? You
yeah,
broke a boundary or whatever it is. What do we do?
yeah.
And you'll be surprised a lot of the time how they
And then
answer it.
they have the answer, and then they comes from them, and then they are totally enrolled in their own answer. And I love asking kids, like, okay, well, if you were a parent, like, what would you do? And they come up with stuff I would never even think about, right? So relax and step back in many ways, right? Yeah. So beautiful to have you here today, Mary Kay. I feel like we could just keep talking for
I
a
know.
long
Thank
time
you.
and
Yes.
going deeper. So here's a couple things that Mary Kay and I want to offer you, especially since it's Mother's Day. So Mary Kay, tell us about, you have a summit coming up. So tell us about your
I
summit, and
do.
I'm dropping the link in the chat right now. And it's also in the like the main description of this interview. But
So
yeah, tell
I
us about
I
the
am doing my
summit.
company is Raising Remarkable Kids, and I am doing a summit. I call it my expert series. It's breakthrough chaos to create the parent you are meant to be, and I am interviewing top experts.
Hmm.
They're pre-recorded. It's 3 weeks long, and they're pre-recorded interviews that'll be released every day, and there is some amazing information in there with those experts. They're just incredible conversations that will every interview that I do, I ask them for 3 practical tips that
Mm,
a parent can take forward right now and use in their everyday life. So you're getting information that you can take forward and use immediately. It's not just, oh, that was a fun conversation. I really
mm,
want to make it with things that will be valuable to the listeners.
awesome. I'm
So,
I'm writing this. I'm listening to you, and I'm writing this in the chat as well, so people can just go and click on that link and get signed up, and then they get this wonderful information from all these experts. And really, what I also heard, these practical tools and advice, which is
yeah, and
so valuable and transformational. Sometimes just like a
yeah,
little thing is like, whoa, okay, that just made a world of difference.
yeah. And the experts are giving gifts. So there's additional parenting information that you can take forward from them as well.
Awesome. Great, great. Thank you. And when is it starting again?
It starts Monday.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah.
Yep,
So
we'll be
jump
releasing
on
Monday.
in and click on that link so you can sign up and get on this summit and really get that support like we've been talking about, that is really there available for you and necessary. You don't need to do this alone. So what I have for you, I'm super excited about this. I'm dropping the link right now. I have created my very first online self-study parenting course, which is all about discovering how to parent from overflow instead of overwhelm by mastering 5 abundance principles that will help you shift the chaos, conflict, and stress into calm, connection, and cooperation. This is all about the mindset of overflow. So, okay, we are not gonna magically, I don't have a magic wand to change those situations. Parenting is stressful, it's hard, it's all those things. But I do believe that the mindset, being in the mindset of overflow, is the most effective way to create some lasting changes in your family, so that you can experience that calm connection and cooperation as well. Because as you heard in this interview, Mary Kay and I talked a lot about the ways of being. Because when you show up in overflow, you are abundant. You can from that place you can give and keep giving without being exhausted. And it's all about also decreasing your stress levels, because boy, when we are stressed out, we don't see the world straight anymore. We are just not our best selves and tend to be very triggered. So
Exactly.
I'm excited about that. It's $47 right now. The price will go up to 97 on Wednesday. Go check it out. Click on that link. And I think that's it. Anything else that you wanna say, Mary Kay, to wrap up? Thank you so much, by the way, for being here today and sharing and being so open and vulnerable. And I sense your commitment. That's like that word that keeps ringing and the
Yeah,
line in the
yep.
sand. Like that commitment is the key ingredient to create this
It
life
is.
and to be the parent that you really desire to be.
Really, yes. It's thank you for having me. And it is. It's if you want to become the parent you really want raising your kids, it could be, having them in their 20s now, the rewards, looking for that immediate appreciation as opposed to the rewards of what I see now. And it
Mm.
was so worth it. It's so worth it to watch them grow and flourish and succeed and know how to have great relationships themselves, to maneuver life.
Yeah.
And such a reward. It
Yeah,
really,
I
that's all
know.
I could
Like
say is
your
it was
your
worth
kids,
it.
yeah, because your kids are up to big things in the world now. Like they're
Yeah.
literally like out there contributing to the world and changing and shifting the world. And imagine and it all originated really from you, like the way you raised them. So it
Hmm.
must be so beautiful to see that ripple effect really happening right in front of your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, it took 20 years, but you know what? It's their parents. It
it
really is.
takes it takes whatever it takes, right? It takes
Exactly.
whatever it takes. So thank you again, everybody who watched us live, who is going to watch this later on. Please, Mary Kay, how can people get in touch with you? Do you want to write in the comments your email or your website so people can get in touch
I
with
can
you?
put my, let's see, I can put, can I get into the comments? Where is it? Top one?
Yeah, you should. Yeah, top right comments.
I can't see where it's, I can't post. I'm not seeing where I
Oh,
can post.
I see. Okay, so yeah, tell us.
It's
I'll type
you
it
can
in.
reach me directly at Mary Kay at raisingremarkablekids.com.
Okay, Mary Kay at raisingremarkablekids.com. Okay, excellent. So if you have any questions or you want to dive deeper with Mary Kay on what she talked about, like, yeah, send her an email. She's
Thank
super
you.
awesome. She'll get back to you, and she's generous. She's ready to support you. So definitely, um, yeah, get support. So thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day, Mary
Thank you,
Kay, and every
Paula.
mom out there.
Happy
Enjoy,
Mother's Day,
celebrate
all.
yourself. Happy Mother's Day to my mom. She's amazing, and I'm just blessed to have her as my mom.
Beautiful.
All right. Bye now, everybody. I'll see you
Bye.
next time.